What's up, everyone? Nate from the Knights at the Nerd Table here, and today we're going to talk about 4 key differences between in-person draft and online arena draft. If you learned how to draft in MTG Online Arena, your first in-person draft might shock you a little bit. 4 key things I think you should know about are 1, no auto sorting, 2, no auto triggers, 3, you're playing the player, not just the game, and number 4, let's talk about hate drafting. By the end of this video, you'll know what skills easily transfer from online only to in-person and which ones don't. So let's talk about the first adjustment I think Arena players have to make that they don't really expect having to make in person. So one of the things that Arena does for you on its own is it manages your triggers, things that happen on ETB or end step triggers or any of those things. Arena will pop something up or stop the game or hold priority for you to make a decision. That doesn't happen in person. You have to keep track of that yourself. Even things like your life total, and really, if you want to be very technical, keeping track of your opponent's life total can be helpful as well. Adding +1/+1 counters, minus counters, any kinds of counters, really, you keep track of that between you and your opponent. Also, for May abilities, there's no pop-up in real life that's telling you, hey, you may do this. Do you want to? You kind of have to decide that on your own. Your opponent doesn't ever have to tell you about your triggers. If you miss them, that might be on you. Depending on the level of casualness you have in your match, maybe your opponent will say, you're missing a trigger here. Or maybe you say, oh, shoot, I missed a trigger on my end step. Can I do that right now? Then maybe they'll allow it. But if you missed your trigger often, that's just the way it is. And if they're really kind of a stickler trying to go 3-0 on their draft night, if you miss your trigger, they might just say, no, you missed it, and I'm just going to make it that you miss it. For me, if I miss the trigger, I'm going to take the L on that one. It helps me learn next time. I don't want to be treated special just because I'm still kind of new to the format. As far as Magic the Gathering goes, I've only been drafting for about 4 years, but this is something I think is very important for you to know. That's the difference between online play and in-person play. Also, you really need to think through your sequencing when it comes to those triggers. Arena isn't going to give you a stack to show how you want to stack it. When you're playing an Arena, this helps you think through things really, really slowly and very, very well and teaches the game like that, which is one of the reasons I like Arena that way. But in person, it doesn't really give you that opportunity. You could say it like this. Arena makes you a better strategist, but in person makes you a better player of the game. You're going to miss triggers your first paper draft, probably your 10th paper draft. Everyone misses triggers. It happens to everyone. Just be aware of it. I typically post content that helps us get better at the game together. So if you have already enjoyed what you've seen so far, go ahead and hit that follow button and let's continue to grow together. So that's a little bit about the gameplay, which is a huge key difference. Now let's talk a little bit about the draft itself. So this is a very key, very important difference in online drafting and in-person drafting. How you pick your cards is the same. You get a pack and you take one from it and then you pass the pack along. But what you do with that card afterwards is completely different. Let me show you what I mean right here. We'll pull up Arena just for a second. In this scenario, as you can see, I've got a draft running, and it's got a little bit of a curve here, and I can see all my 2-drops. I got lots of 2-drops. I know where my removal is. I'm sorting as I go. That only is true for online Magic the Gathering Arena. In person, once you pick your cards, you actually lay it face down in a pile in front of you. In between packs, you get about 90 seconds to flip through your cards and kind of sort them as you go, but you don't have access to look at them as you go and as you draft like you do with Arena. You're physically sorting. You're managing hidden information, not just from your opponents, but also from you. You are reading signals from the table, but you're also reading signals, and you kind of should hope to have a pretty good memory. You can't just play face up and count your colors and pips and things like that as you go. And in this instance, quick draft, as you can see that I pulled up, I can take as long as I want to take my pick. I could leave this up all night and pick it tomorrow if I wanted. That's not really the case in person. There's a little bit of extra pressure. The packs are kind of starting to stack up next to you, and you got to keep the line moving. All while hopefully remembering everything that you've picked. By the time pack 3 rolls around, sometimes you can go, wait, do I already have 3 copies of this great removal? And is this really worth one more? Or do I only have 2? I can't really remember. And that comes into a factor as you're packing or as you're picking your packs. A great way to say this is that Arena tests evaluation of cards as you go, but in person really tests your organization and how you're cards stay organized and how your mind stay organized throughout the draft. So keep that in mind as you continue to go. So you've picked out of your packs, you've built a 40-card deck, and you're excited about it. There's one other key difference I think is really important when it comes to in-person Magic versus online Arena. On Arena, there's a little bit of tell from game to game. If there's a pause, a dramatic pause at the right spot, and they have untapped mana, maybe they have a trigger or a spell that they can play, and you get that tell. In person, you don't necessarily get that pause, but you can read the player as you're playing the game. You're not just playing the game itself, you're playing the person across the table from you. Look at poker tournaments. A lot of that is playing the person and not just the game. Yeah, the cards have a ton to do with the game, but you're also looking at the person. What do they have? What are they excited for? How are they sorting their cards? Do they have any cards in hand? Or they're trying to fake how many cards that they have? Or trying to misrepresent something as they go? Or do you have them dead to rights on board? Even if they're a friendly, casual, relaxed person, a lot of times you're playing the player across from you as you play the game. And you can tell based on frustration or excitement by what they top deck that maybe it gives you more information about the game. If they're really sneaky, maybe they're even trying to throw you off and completely bluff something. I know I've done that before. Another thing to be aware of is in person, there are heroes amongst you. Regulars that frequent certain patterns and also certain colors that they prefer to play when they draft. You might be going up against the hometown hero who is famous for drafting a Dimir deck or 5-color good stuff no matter what. Keep that in mind. Be aware. Now, it's important as you go not to participate in unethical behavior. Don't just straight out lie to someone. Come on, we're all just here to have fun, but it is a good thing to remember the information and use it if they give it to you. I've won games and lost games because I haven't read my opponent correctly. In paper, you're not just drafting cards, you're drafting against personality types. If you've got a story about getting bluffed or that you successfully bluffed someone else, drop it in the comments and we'll pin the craziest story at the top. Now, I already know that this last one is going to be very controversial, but let's talk about it. Hate drafting. Huge difference in online and in-person draft. Online, no matter your rank, unless you're in the top 10, maybe top 15 best players in the world, you're not going to see a card that you pass throughout the rest of your draft run. It's very, very unlikely. There's a small percentage of chance, so there is still a chance, but for the most part, it's almost zero. Depending on how many people are at the table, if it's a smaller draft, the cards you're passing you might be playing against in the first round, second round, or maybe even the third round to try to win it all, to go 3-0. So if you feel good about your deck and you open a pack and the card that you pull isn't in your colors, but you know it is a bomb, like, man, this card is going to take over the game if it's played against me, maybe it's okay to just take it, especially if it's a money card and you maybe pay for your draft back. You don't owe anyone else at the table the best choice of their picks. You can totally hate draft. That's allowed. You might miss out on something good in your pack, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend it all the time. But if the pack is lousy for you, if most of your good colors are redundant or unplayable cards that you've been given a pack, take the best card in someone else's colors. Limit their access to a win. I have one instance that I remember this happened to me. This was specific to a Commander Masters draft where you're drafting for a 60-card deck. The guy down the table from me was very obviously in 2 colors that he was very vocally and very happy about. And he was also playing sort of a landfall elemental theme, and it was coming together really nicely, and he was not quiet about it at all. Well, he was just 1 or 2 picks down from me, and I opened a pack, and I gave him access. If I would have given him access to a 3rd color as a commander for this specific type of draft. So not only would he have a great deck that he already has, but it would actually open him up to a 3rd color of potentially good cards and bombs that he could draft. So you know what? I snagged that bad boy. I put it in my pile, and I just had nothing to say about it. The card would have specifically allowed him to play cards out of his graveyard, which I really didn't want him doing, especially with all the self-mill he seemed to have going on. There's a difference between fear drafting and hate drafting. Don't draft a card just because you're scared of seeing it. Hate draft the card if you know when it comes down to it, the rest of the cards in this pack are mediocre for me, and I want to take the win away from someone else in this specific moment because I might play against them. In Arena online, it encourages you to find your lane and stick to it. Don't deviate from your plan. Be open to pivoting, but don't deviate from the plan. In paper or in person, you're not just sticking to that plan, but you're also being aware of the pool around you. So sometimes that calls for a strategic move like hate draft. So in summary, Arena tracks your data. Paper tracks your preparation, your ability to prepare for the draft or for the games you're playing. Paper adds some psychology that you get to play the person across the table from you and not just the video game itself. And finally, hate draft that card, man. That sounds like a good time to me. But then again, I have been known to play blue every now and again. If this helps you or encourages you to move from just online draft to in-person draft, definitely hit that subscribe button. But more than anything, get to an LGS and have fun drafting with real people. There's one last thing I haven't mentioned that's different between paper and in-person, and it's this. And I think it's one of the most important ones. When you're done with your arena draft, whether you trophied or got 0-3'd, you're done. But in person, you're going to want to bring a few commander decks because chances are whether you get knocked out early or just are frustrated at the end, people are still going to want to play Magic. They're going to have their commander decks. They're going to get invited to a pod, and you're going to be able to keep playing for a while. Some stores will stay open super, super late on draft nights because they know people are going to want to play commander, buy more packs, buy some snacks, and have a good time and participate in the community, which is the point of Magic the Gathering. Yeah, so keep playing Magic even when the draft is done. That sounds like a pretty good deal to me. So thanks again. My name is Nate. I'm a knight here at the Nerd Table, and if you enjoyed any of this content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and follow along for more Magic and really just nerdy tips in general. Till we see you at the table right here next time, good night, nerds.